I used to smile a lot. At least that's what everyone saw. Every morning, I woke up, got dressed, and went about my day as if everything was fine. I greeted people warmly, laughed at jokes, and told everyone I was doing okay. On the outside, I looked strong, but inside, I was carrying battles that no one knew about. There were days when getting out of bed felt harder than climbing a mountain. I remember staring at the ceiling for long minutes, wondering how I would make it through another day. My heart felt heavy, but I couldn't explain why. I didn't want people to worry about me, so I kept everything hidden behind a smile. People often said, "You're always so positive." If only they knew. They didn't see the nights when I cried quietly into my pillow. They didn't hear the thoughts that kept me awake long after midnight. They didn't know how lonely I felt, even when surrounded by people. I became an expert at pretending. Whenever someone asked, "How are you?" I automatically replied, "I'm fine." The truth was I wasn't. I was tired. Tired of being strong all the time. Tired of carrying responsibilities that seemed never-ending. Tired of feeling like I had to handle everything alone. But I kept going because I believed that stopping would make me look weak. So I continued smiling. I continued helping others. I continued acting like everything was under control. What nobody realized was that behind every smile was a silent struggle. Behind every "I'm okay" was a story I wasn't ready to tell. And behind every successful day was a person fighting battles no one could see. I didn't know it then, but my quiet struggles were slowly teaching me a lesson that would change my life forever. Every day felt the same. I woke up, completed my responsibilities, smiled at everyone, and returned home completely exhausted. Not just physically, but emotionally. It was the kind of exhaustion that sleep couldn't fix. Some people thought I was distant. Others assumed I was simply quiet. No one realized I was fighting a battle inside my own mind. I questioned myself constantly. Am I good enough? Why does everything seem so difficult for me? Will anyone ever understand what I'm feeling? Those questions echoed in my heart every single day. I watched people celebrate their successes while I struggled just to keep myself together. I was happy for them, but a small part of me wondered when it would finally be my turn to feel truly at peace. There were moments when I wanted to tell someone everything. I wanted to admit that I wasn't as strong as everyone believed. I wanted to say that I was scared, that I felt lost, that I needed someone to simply listen. But every time I opened my mouth, the words disappeared. Instead, I smiled again. I convinced myself that my problems weren't important enough to share. I told myself other people had bigger struggles, so I should stay silent. Looking back, I realized silence became my prison. The more I hid my feelings, the heavier my heart became. Still, I refused to give up. Even on my darkest days, a tiny spark deep inside me whispered, "Keep going. One day, things will get better." I didn't know when that day would come. I didn't know how my life would change. But somehow, I found the strength to take one more step, then another, and another. Sometimes surviving one day at a time was the greatest victory of all. I had no idea that the smallest decision I was about to make would become the turning point that changed everything. One morning, I looked at myself in the mirror. For the first time in a long while, I didn't rush away. I stood there quietly, staring at the tired eyes looking back at me. The smile I showed everyone else was gone. It was just me, no pretending, no hiding. That's when I asked myself a question I had been avoiding for months. When was the last time I was truly happy? I couldn't remember. Somewhere along the way, I had become so focused on surviving that I forgot how to live. I spent all my energy taking care of responsibilities, meeting expectations, and making sure everyone else was okay. But I had forgotten about myself. That realization hurt. I had been waiting for someone to notice my pain, to ask if I was really okay, to rescue me from everything I was carrying. Then it finally dawned on me. Maybe the first person who needed to notice me was me. That day, I made one small promise. I wasn't going to change my whole life overnight. I wasn't going to pretend everything would suddenly become easy. I simply promised to be kinder to myself. Instead of criticizing every mistake, I celebrated every small achievement. Instead of saying, "I'm not enough," I started saying, "I'm doing my best." Some days I still cried. Some days I still felt overwhelmed. But those feelings no longer made me believe I was weak. They reminded me that I was human. Little by little, I began to breathe more deeply. I started appreciating quiet mornings, peaceful walks, and moments of gratitude that I had overlooked for so long. Life hadn't changed. My problems hadn't disappeared. But something inside me had. For the first time, I realized that healing doesn't always begin with a miracle. Sometimes, it begins with a single choice: to stop fighting yourself and start believing that you deserve the same kindness you so freely give to everyone else. Healing wasn't a straight path. There were days when I felt hopeful, and there were days when the sadness quietly returned without warning. At first, I thought I was failing. But then I realized something important. Healing isn't about never falling again. It's about learning how to get back up with a little more courage each time. I began to let people in, little by little. One afternoon, a close friend looked at me and asked, "Are you really okay?" For the first time, I didn't smile and say, "I'm fine." Instead, I took a deep breath and answered honestly, "No, I've been struggling." Those few words felt heavier than I expected, but they also brought a strange sense of relief. My friend didn't try to solve all my problems. They simply listened. They didn't judge me. They didn't tell me to just be positive. They just stayed with me. In that moment, I realized something I had misunderstood for so long. Being strong doesn't mean carrying everything alone. Sometimes, the strongest thing we can do is admit that we need someone beside us. From that day on, I stopped trying to be perfect. I accepted that some days would still be difficult. I accepted that I didn't have to have all the answers. I learned to celebrate the little victories, the mornings I got out of bed with hope, the evenings I laughed without forcing it, and the quiet moments when my heart finally felt at peace. The struggles hadn't completely disappeared, but they no longer controlled my life. Instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" I started asking, "What is this teaching me?" That simple change in perspective transformed the way I saw every challenge. I was no longer defined by my pain. I was becoming stronger because of it. And for the first time in a very long time, I looked toward the future with hope instead of fear. Looking back now, I hardly recognize the person I used to be. The person who believed that silence was strength. The person who smiled through every storm while quietly falling apart inside. That version of me wasn't weak. That version of me was simply trying to survive. Today, I still face challenges. Life didn't suddenly become perfect. There are still unexpected disappointments, moments of fear, and days when I question myself. But now I face them differently. I've learned that it's okay to rest. It's okay to cry. It's okay to ask for help. Most importantly, it's okay to be human. I no longer measure my worth by how much pain I can hide. Instead, I measure it by how honestly I choose to live. I've discovered joy in the smallest moments: a quiet sunrise, a heartfelt conversation, the laughter of people I love, and the peace that comes from accepting myself. I don't need everyone's approval anymore. I don't need to pretend that I'm always strong, because real strength isn't about never breaking. It's about finding the courage to heal after you've been broken. If you're reading this and you're carrying struggles that no one else can see, I want you to know something. You are not invisible. Your tears matter. Your feelings matter. Your story matters. Even if the world doesn't always notice your silent battles, they are real. And so are you. Please don't lose hope. Keep taking one small step at a time. One day, you'll look back and realize that the very struggles you thought would destroy you became the reason you grew into someone wiser, kinder, and stronger. As for me, my quiet struggles will always be part of my story. But they are no longer the ending. They are simply the chapters that taught me how to live, how to hope, and how to believe in tomorrow.